Hello friends and welcome to the Nature Trail podcast. I'm your host, Steve Mokaya. Today, I want you to picture something with me. A river, clear, sparkling, bubbling to life from the earth itself. Its banks lined with lush greenery and its water sustaining communities for generations. Sounds like paradise, right? But now imagine this same river struggling to survive. Its banks stripped bare, its waters muddy and shrinking, its song of life slowly fading into silence. This isn't just a story of one river. It is the story of River Kibos, and it reflects the challenges facing rivers across Kenya. Today, we'll hear from the people living along its banks, the experts trying to save it, and the communities searching for solutions. Let's start at the source, Kobujoi Kapkabai village in Nandi County, where the River Kibos begins its journey. Here, the water springs up from the ground, sparkling and alive. Stephen Toll, a resident of the area, describes it as a gift from nature. But as he explains, that gift is in danger.
Hii maji yenye tunapata inatoka underground water source. Na changamoto yake, watu wanakuja wanakata miti ya kienyeji wakati wanatafuta kuni. So ina reduce kupreserve hiyo maji. Alafu changamoto ngine ni panda wa juu. Watu wanapanda hizi vitu kama nduma. Wanaharibu direct channel ya maji direction. Maji inapitia. Ndio inaanza kureduce. Maji inapunguka from the main source. So yenye tunachunganga na watu wasikate miti ya kienyeji along the river banks. Kila mwaka tunaongeza kupanda miti ya kienyeji. Ndio hiyo maji isipotee kwa line yake, mahali inatoka. Na tulime upande mahali maji iko, tunawacha ikuwe natural, isiguzwe na interference. Hiyo ndio tunazingatia kwa sana. Majirani wenye hawana msitu wanakuja sasa kutafuta kuni kwetu kwa forest yetu. So inabidi unatembea jioni, unaangalia nani yako. Wengine wanakata miti kama hiyo ya kienyeji wanaenda kutumia kama kuni. So sisi binafsi ndio unajionea kujichungia.
Further downstream, the story takes another dark turn. Unsustainable sand harvesting and the planting of exotic trees are choking the river. Regulations exist to protect rivers like Kibos, but as Enoch Kiminta, the CEO of the Kenya National Water Resources User Association, points out, enforcement is lacking.
I participated in the 3-day-long journey of water along River Kibos and looking at the various sections of the rivers, right from upstream, midstream to downstream. I will describe River Kibos as a very, very sick river. It's a river that is in ICU. If we don't see how we can heal this river, I will only give this river another 2 years, then it is gone. Of course, the major contributor of River Kibos drying up is the human activity, which will be exacerbated by the impacts of climate change. So some of the activities that I notice is that I've seen communities planting exotic trees that are really proven scientifically that they take in a lot of water. If planted along river water bodies, they dry up those water bodies and evidence are there. I'm also seeing sustainable sand harvesting because communities are harvesting sand even at the middle of the riverbed, and harvesting sand even in the middle of the riverbed will also affect the base flows. The base flows is water that flows beneath the sand, and that will eventually affect the quantity and the quality of Lake Victoria that are sharing the Lake Victoria basin. Yeah. So we really need to enforce the just gazetted sand harvesting, national sand harvesting regulation being enforced by NEMA, and I want to call upon NEMA really to wake up. Get out of their offices, get out from the comfort of the conferences they are holding, and let's see these sand regulations being enforced to safeguard and protect our rivers from drying.
This urgency spurred action. In June 2024, WWF Kenya and its partners organized the Journey of Water, a 3-day trek along River Kibos. Julius Korir, Principal Secretary in the State Department for Water and Sanitation, flagged off the event with a rallying call.
So water is essential to life. Our people, our wildlife, and our economy depends on it. But in Kenya, we are saying that we are a water scarce country because maji ambayo iko haitoshi.
One thing that struck me during this event was a powerful reminder from WWF Kenya CEO Mohamed Awer. He said, rivers like Kibos do more than sustain lives. they unite communities.
Maji inaleta undugu kwa Kenya njia mingi sana. Watu ya hapa wanapenda sadaka kwa watu wengi katika Kenya hii, Kakamega, Kisumu, Vihiga, si ndio? And that creates brotherhood and actually is part of nation building. So we are really happy that water is a thing that connects us more than anything else. Of course, many other things connect us.
But unity alone won't save River Kibos. Drastic changes have altered its flow. William Olalo, chairman of the Kibos Water Users Association, remembers a time when the river was a force of nature.
This river has got a source that starts up at Kobujoy, mid at Kapkures, and down to the lake Victoria. Many years ago, in the 70s, the river was overflowing the banks. But when we reached the 70s, then people discovered these sand harvesting issues. Then they started cutting big trees. And as sand harvesting continued along the river banks, then we started seeing unreachable river banks.
Picture that, a once roaring river, now barely a trickle. To reverse the damage, the association is encouraging locals to adopt sustainable practices like using sand pans upstream and diversifying their livelihoods through smart agriculture.
In our sub-catchment management plan, we have robust plans to be able to do what is called sand dams, so that we harvest in an organized way. The sand pans, or sand dams for that matter, are well-organized way of excavating sand in a way that you don't interfere with the riparian, and also you target the deposits from upstream. In so doing, the people can be able to get a lot of sand, and after doing that, we also do what is called value addition. In value addition on the sand, we advocate for making of bricks, so that we do not sell the raw sand, which is cheap. If you sell a lorry of sand that is maybe 20-ton lorry, then they just give you 3,000 shillings. But if you add value, you can get as much as 100,000 shillings from a truck. And so these are kind of interventions that we are doing so that we change the lifestyle, or we improve on what people are already doing in a way to be friendly to the river and to the ecosystem. We have also encouraged people to change their livelihoods by encouraging vegetable production by smart agriculture, irrigation activities that are able to bring food on the table and also to conserve the environment.
But the river's challenges don't stop with sand harvesting. Poor land use has affected water quality too. George Odero, production manager at the Kisumu Water Sanitation Company, shared a sobering reality. The river's water is now so murky that during dry months, they have to shut down their pumps.
Being a water utility, we abstract our water from River Kibos, and we've noticed from time that River Kibos is deteriorating in two fronts. One, there's a lot of turbidity. The water is of high turbid water, especially when it rains. Even if it's a small shower, the water turbidity spikes up and gives us an indication that something needs to be done on the land use practices in the catchment. Then we also notice that in the month of February and March every year, we have to close the plant to a quarter capacity because the river dries up. Kajulu Water Treatment Plant is a plant that we use to supply 60% of our customers in Kisumu. So it's a very important plant for the city of Kisumu, because many residents that live in this city relies on water that is produced from this plant.
Even with these challenges, there is hope. Abraham Serone, a resident of Terrick Ward in Nandi County, recalls how this area was once a thriving wetland, teeming with indigenous trees and reeds. Though much of it has been cleared for sand harvesting, Serone believes a solution lies in offering the community alternative livelihoods like fish farming.
Hapa tuko ilikuwa chemichemi. This is a riparian land. Ilikuwa chemichemi ya maji na zamani, I think 5 to 6 years, Hii nini imeendelea hapa karibu 6 years ndio wameanza kuchimba hii mchanga. Na bure hapa ilikuwa mzuri. Hii reeds ilikuwa imejaa hapa. Area hii yote hii ni wetland. So reeds ilikuwa hapa ndio watu wanatoanga nyasi ya kujenga ile nyumba ya zamani. Hasa vile waligeukia wakachimba, hata unapata hata ile vitu inachunga maji kama reeds. Miti yenye inachunga hakuna hata moja. So tungependa this place inaweza rudi back to normal kama tunaweza panda miti, kama sisi Rua Wanyang'orua tukipata vile tunaweza kuja tufanye hapa, tupande miti, tuongee na jamii wawachane na hiyo maneno ya sand harvesting, na tufanye tunaweza weka fish pond hapa ili wasaidie kwa maisha yao. Wengine wanaweza tafutiwa kitu kidogo ya kufanya ili wawachane na hii kazi, na wanakubali kuachana na hii kazi kama watapata kitu ya kuweka chakula kwa meza jioni.
The plight of River Kibos is just one chapter in a larger story. Across Kenya, our freshwater sources are vanishing. According to Kiminta, the country has already lost over 60% of its permanent rivers.
To really tackle fresh water sources, restoration, management, protection, there are 4 key things that we need to address as a country. The 4 key challenges, which are too much water, too little water, mismanaged water, and contaminated water. If you read that the water resource status report of 2022, imagine rivers that were once permanent rivers. Almost 60% now of the permanent rivers have dried up. In Kenya, in the early 90s, we had a total of 167 permanent rivers that are flowing year in, year out. But because of our action, because of our behavior towards these resources, because of the negligence towards conservation and protection of these resources, we are only having now about 60 to 65 permanent rivers that are flowing throughout the year. But if you look at the rate at which the 65 are also drying up completely, is quite drastic, because if you look at the issue of obstruction, if you look at the impacts of climate change, this remaining 65 are also in danger in terms of getting dry.
Kenya's 5 water towers, which supply 80% of our fresh water, are in dire need of restoration. If we don't act now, the consequences will ripple through every sector of our economy.
As a country, I think we are so much focused on water that comes out of the tap, forgetting that this water coming out of the taps is coming from somewhere. And this somewhere is a catchment. Kenya has 5 water towers that are in dire need of restoration. The 5 water towers one is we have the Cherangani Hills, we have the Mount Elgon, Mount Kenya, the Aberdares, the Mau Complex, and Barmanet Tower. So these are the towers that are really providing fresh water sources to Kenyans at almost 80%. And if you look at the situation right now of those water towers, they are not really in good condition. And as I always tell Kenyans that if we don't get water right, everything everywhere falls apart. People will start fighting. Biodiversity will continue declining. It will affect our tourism, and at the end of the day, the GDP of this country will go down.
Kiminta's plea is simple but urgent. The government must allocate resources to protect our catchment areas before it is too late.
I want to call upon the government, even as they do their budgets for development, let's also allocate some budgets for catchment or other water towers, restoration, protection, and proper management.
So what can we do? It starts with awareness, action, and advocacy. Rivers like Kibos are more than just water. They are lifelines. They sustain us, unite us, and connect us to nature. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story moved you, share this episode with someone and let's keep the conversation flowing, just like the rivers we're fighting to save. I'm Steve Mokaya, and this is the Nature Trail Podcast. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and stay connected to nature. Goodbye.